Internet world, YouTubers, it's your boy Mr. Vaughn, and of course, it's the That's What's Up crew, because you know that's what's up. You know how we do. That's how we live. I got my man Daniel Lee to the left of me, independent graphic designer and illustrator. I got my man A. Larson, A. Boogie, but only I can call him that in my pockets. Aaron Larson, independent game designer. You guys know how the routine go. Welcome to another episode of That's What's Up. Today's topic, we're going to get right into it, man. Zombies. They're coming to kill us all. And Hollywood is telling us that. The zombie craze, zombie pop culture, how everything is going there. I mean, they're mainstream right now. I want to talk about, first off, before we get into the actual movies that we're going to talk about. I think the biggest mainstream thing going on right now with zombies is The Walking Dead.
And The Walking Dead is huge right now.
The TV show. I mean, we're not gonna get into if we actually like the show or not. You know what I'm saying? Because there's parts of but as far as the impact of it on culture, is the numbers it pulls in numbers that rival Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, it's probably the biggest AMC. I mean, next to what Breaking Bad did. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, next to Breaking Bad.
And I don't even know how many people have said, "Oh, you know, I can't watch that show during certain times because I have nightmares, you know, because of it." And it's like, okay, that's because it borderlines, you know, what really would happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's the one thing going into zombie movies and stuff like that. That's the one thing when they did a zombie show for television. I was like, you can't do a zombie movie. You're not going to be able to get graphic enough. But The Walking Dead, they go graphic.
I agree. They did a great job. I watched the first 2 seasons and then kind of fell off just because I didn't see where it would end.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, okay, and if the ending was going to be interesting enough, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I still haven't caught up on it, and I didn't even read the comics. So.
Yeah, I never read the comics either. But they're going into like season 5 now. But as far as what I want to get your thoughts on, Dan, really, is the graphic violence in the end. Because that was the thing that you need in a good zombie flick, is it has to be violent.
Well, it has to by nature, by definition.
Exactly.
You have to show a certain...
They're eating people.
Right. Yeah. You got to show guts being ripped out of the body, you know, just... feral nature. I mean, you know, they can't be satiated. They got to continuously feed and feed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing that they hit on with, like, say, The Walking Dead and also, Dawn of the Dead, is the character relationship. Like, you watch this and you really feel for the characters. You're like, can I put myself in that situation? That makes a big difference when it comes to a zombie flick compared to the really crappy old ones where it was just like, oh, no offense to Night of the Living Dead because it's classic.
Classic. But it started the genre.
Right, but back then it's like there was no real character relationship. It felt more like these are monsters they're attacking.
Mm-hmm. Where
you take something like Dawn of the Dead or The Walking Dead and it's family that are turning.
Yeah, well, yeah you touched upon it because back then it was still categorized as like a monster movie.
Exactly.
Right.
And now it's its own unique genre.
Let's throw the trailer on for Dawn of the Dead remake. I mean, I remember watching this. It was me, you, and a couple of our other friends.
Oh, it was epic.
It was an epic night.
It was epic.
We're like, what the fuck?
I mean, from the start to the end, because it started off like all kind of like peaceful and happy, where it's just like a normal.
Yeah, when she's working at the hospital.
Yeah, into just chaos.
Into
everywhere.
Like that.
Like that. And the oh my god.
You wake up to chaos.
And it really shows you, and even though they only show what's happening in that one small town, you really get a feel for this is the end of the world.
Yeah,
shit's going down.
You know what's somewhat disconcerting to compare this now with what's going on is that Ebola virus.
Yeah,
they're bringing the guy back to the States.
I saw
People
that.
are freaking out.
That was the first thing I said. Why are you bringing it back? You can't bring it back to the States.
Like 60 to 90% mortality rate, no cure.
Oh yeah, it's like that's influenza. There was no cure for that.
Yeah,
just what happened to it.
So there's a possibility you might survive, but there's no fix for it.
There's no, and that's how something like this is going to start. I mean, look at the breakdown of society.
I mean, and that's the other thing. I think the thing that made this Dawn of the Dead movie so much better than the other ones is because normally you had just the Resident Evil slow walking zombies.
Yes.
And this one they are
the sprinter zombies.
They're sprinting.
The sprinter zombies are terrifying.
That is scary.
Because I remember.
And the Asian dude missing an arm.
Oh my
scary.
gosh, terrifying. That's only in the director's cut too.
Hey. See the director's cut.
Well,
see the director's cut, please.
So the one character here that scared me was that really fat lady that they had to roll in.
Oh, yeah,
when
yeah, it was on
she
the
was still
wheelbarrow.
alive.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Something about that image.
Oh, it was tragic.
Because,
It was,
if she gets up, you're not stopping her.
She's gonna eat like 5 of you.
Sprinting.
I remember watching the original
That's a
Dawn of the
football
Dead.
player.
I know, she was.
That's Cortez
Lineman.
Kennedy, zombie. That's scary.
I remember watching the original Dawn of the Dead, and I just remember that those scenes where you really just see the zombies eating people's flesh, and I was like, wow. I had never seen at the time. I had never seen anything like that.
There wasn't.
And then Dawn of the, and while the 2004 version, that was the first, like you said, with the sprinting zombies. You had never seen anything like that because up at that point, zombies were always and they're easy to beat. They're so
and,
easy
and
to
we didn't
beat.
even see it, the same kind of genre again of the sprinting zombies until World War Z.
Well, no, they had them in. Well, actually, you know what? Let's be correct about our timeline.
Okay.
28 Days Later,
Yep.
which is another one, which actually
Okay.
came out before Dawn of the Dead.
But see I guess.
But that's
what
also
part
not a
of it
traditional zombie
was.
flick.
Because was that just a zombie or was that just a virus? Because where this they actually died and came back.
Yeah, in Dawn of the
people
Dead, they actually are
falling
dead.
out of
That's true.
buildings and still going.
Yeah, there's a unique difference. But yeah, there were definitely the ones in 28 Days Later were more feral.
They were more, yeah.
more aggressive.
Yeah. But it felt more like because I guess that's the biggest difference because towards the end of this 28 Days Later, and obviously spoiler alert if you haven't seen it because you should see it.
How the fuck have you guys in 28 Days
Hey,
Later?
nonetheless, it still got to say it.
It's gotta say it.
But at the end of that, it was like, okay, they starved out and they just wasted away and died.
Yeah.
Where in, like
That doesn't
Dawn of the
happen in
Dead
Dawn of the Dead.
or World War Z, that does not
That
happen.
doesn't happen, exactly. Yeah.
So it's more, to me it felt more like a virus, even though it's got to be considered along that genre though.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's the distinction, between like, okay, there's zombies, you get bitten, you turn into one, regardless of whether or not you die, and then this providing like a somewhat scientific explanation.
Yeah.
For what.
Well, I guess because that would bring into the discussion of what qualifies as a zombie. Is a zombie the living dead, or is the zombie somebody that spreads their?
Right, and that's I guess if you took World War Z, that kind of mixed the two genres.
And kind of mixes exactly. They did that. World War Z. They did kind of mix the genres together.
I think that's what made that movie so great for me. It's like there's a couple scenes where the guy gets bit and then he's infected and Brad Pitt's sitting there counting in his head how long it takes for it to spread. And then that other time because he still wasn't sure how it was spread and they shot the zombie and the blood got in his mouth, and then he was like walks over to the edge like he's gonna just totally go off.
it was
off.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Epic.
It was
I
nuts.
mean that's what made it great.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
like that twist and turn on it. It really added a lot to the whole genre.
It did. Dan, what is you? I mean, when you think of zombie movies and how they're, I mean, woo! Shouts out to Danny Boyle. And the sequel to before we'll get back to World War Z in a second. But the sequel to 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, which is a very good sequel. As far as sequels go, you usually get a great sequel. There was a couple scenes in there where I was just like the scene where when he finds his wife and then he first gets infected after he kisses her, and then that brutal scene where he beats her to death.
Yeah, that was.
Oh my goodness,
That was so hard.
That was rough.
Yeah.
I liked that, and I liked how they just decided, you know what, we can't contain this, so let's kill everybody.
Let's firebomb the city.
I mean,
Because that's
let's
probably what would happen.
That's
That's
exactly
the most accurate scenario.
There's a
honestly.
scene of that in the Walking Dead TV show, in I think season 3, it might be season 3, where they show them out. The survivors are outside of Atlanta, and they look and they see downtown Atlanta just getting firebombed.
yeah, and then remember, and that's where Rick was all worried about his buddy because he said, "Yeah, we'll meet in Atlanta."
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's get back to World War Z, because there's another thing about World War Z that I have to give them a lot of credit for, because as successful as 28 Days Later was and Dawn of the Dead were, they weren't what you would consider blockbusters. You know what I'm saying? As good as those movies were, they still weren't able to reach outside of the core zombie genre.
Right.
Whereas World War Z was a blockbuster.
I mean, but then
I mean, it was a $300 million movie.
you throw Brad Pitt in the movie, and
Yeah.
it's going to draw people.
It's
you
true.
know? I mean, because really, he's the most mentionable in that whole movie.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and honestly, I mean, it goes for me, it goes back on the take of it. I mean, because it was like, it felt like an infection, but it was like, they still aren't really sure. But, you know, I guess the one thing that really drives me insane when it comes to these zombie movies is the fact that zombies have been such a huge part of pop culture forever. So it drives me insane when they see this stuff happening and they don't know that they're zombies.
Well, that's the thing.
You know?
That's the thing that we also have to acknowledge about World War Z is they actually did call them zombies. They were clear about it. I got the same text message you did, and it said zombies.
Yeah, I mean, but why don't they do that more often? You know?
That's just going to have to be the ongoing term. I mean, if you saw something like that in real life, how could it not be?
How could it not be zombies?
There's nothing else that we have in our vocabulary that could define something like
if
that.
If I have to
Seriously.
if I have to make a knock on zombie movies as a whole, that's the one thing I have to say. For most part, there's no acknowledgement that anybody has any idea what a fucking zombie is in any other movie.
Yeah.
And I've always been a little disappointed in that. Like, it's not going to change the overall course of actions that you know what's going to
it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to pretend like they don't exist until
Until
this
that's
like no one knew about it.
And because that's the real talk, you know. If I see someone walking down the street, dragging their foot all weird, I'm gonna call you and be like, yo, I got a zombie walking down my street right now.
There's a zombie.
I'm sending you the video. You know, you can see it on That's What's Up.
YouTube, That's What's Up will be the first to have exclusive zombie footage.
Seriously.
But what I liked
Come see
about
us.
this though is that it didn't come across as like a normal zombie movie. It was more like a contagion or an outbreak type of movie,
Yeah.
blended with some of that
Blended,
zombie
yeah.
element. So I think it hit the mainstream a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think more, and there wasn't as much gore and stuff that would turn
Right,
a lot.
And that's the thing about it. It was able to get away with a PG-13 rating. They do have the unrated version if you get a chance. Watch it because they do add a little extra gore in there
I
for
mean,
the unrated version.
and that's the one thing. Like, it did kind of have that same feel of, say, like, you know, 28 Days Later, because you know how, like, in that one they were like throwing up blood and
Yeah.
you know, and that's kind of what happened in this too.
Mhm.
So you knew that they were sick with something.
Yeah.
But with World War Z, you never felt like they were gonna get any better.
Yeah, it just was.
Well, with this one, you could sit back and watch it and set yourself apart from the movie. In 28 days and 28 weeks later, more so with 28 Days Later, the pacing of the movie was so crazy
Yeah.
that you were just like doing this the whole time.
Mhm.
Like, oh my god, you know, you were like, it drew you in a whole lot more.
Right.
The thing that both 28 Days Later did, and then The Walking Dead did it too, is they put you into the eyes of somebody who just wakes up and has no idea what's going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different from World War Z or Dawn of the Dead, where you're there from ground zero, where everything starts to fall apart. And 28 Days Later, this dude wakes up from a coma, and the world is just fucked.
It's
Yeah,
just-
it's
it's
chaos.
just-
It's just chaos.
You're like, what the fuck happened?
But that's probably why Dawn of the Dead is done, or excuse me, The Walking Dead is done so good.
Mhm.
It's because, you know, here's Rick, who's out in a coma for so long, and he wakes up and he has no idea what's
He
going
has
on.
no idea
He sees
what's
the little
going on.
girl, and you're like, oh.
I'm a
Oh,
cop.
no.
Let me help you.
Yeah, you know?
He goes into cop mode.
And you can't in that moment. Cop mode is done. Is done.
It's done. So we're getting ready to wrap this up. I like this. This was a good segment, gentlemen. I like this. Before we wrap this up, I want to get a kick, 25 seconds from each of you. What do you feel about movies like Zombieland and Warm Bodies that have tried to turn the zombie genre into family friendly?
Fido, I'd throw that in there too.
Yeah.
Not my thing. There's a place for it, and I think that place has already come and passed. I don't really see that type of zombie movie taking a really large foothold on the genre.
Yeah.
So I think probably for the most, it's still going to evolve, but I don't think we're going to see any more movies like that that are going to do really well.
Aaron?
I actually disagree. I mean, I think that Zombieland was huge.
Zombieland was huge.
I think it hit enough on that serious tone with still having that comedic flavor to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Warm Bodies is hit or miss. I mean, it's a love story.
I agree. I don't like Warm Bodies as much as I do Zombieland.
But Zombieland, I thought Zombieland was great. I loved it, you know, because now when you think about it, everyone's like, don't forget to double tap.
Don't forget to know that. And how can you not love a movie with Emma Stone? She's so smoking hot.
I mean, Woody Harrelson
Emma
did
Stone.
such a great job.
They just did Bill Murray so dirty.
Oh!
But that's what
One
made
of
it
the
so
best
great,
scenes in the
though.
movie
Oh
ever.
my God.
That is so, yeah.
How
that's
about
awesome.
he said, "Are you gonna get better?" No.
I'm not good looks at him. It's great. I love it. Well, you know it. There's the crows and the howl of the wolf. That wraps up another segment on That's What's Up. Hey, keep it locked right here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow all of us on Twitter, Facebook. You know how we do. Until next time, that's what's up, y'all.